Before we dive in, please remember that I am not a financial advisor. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The information presented here is not a substitute for professional financial advice tailored to your specific situation. Always consult with a qualified financial professional before making any investment decisions. Your financial situation is unique, and any decisions you make are your own responsibility. There's a silent epidemic sweeping across America, and it has nothing to do with a virus. It's an epidemic of broken dreams. It's the story of Mark and Susan. They did everything they were told to do. They worked hard for 40 years, maxed out their 401ks, paid off their house in a nice suburban neighborhood, and raised 2 great kids. They dreamed of retirement. They pictured themselves traveling through Europe, playing with their grandkids, and finally enjoying the fruits of a lifetime of labor. And for a while they did. The first 10 years were golden. But then something terrifying happened. The numbers started to dwindle. A major health issue, a new roof, helping a child with a down payment life happened. And at age 76, Mark sat at his kitchen table, staring at a bank statement, and the cold, hard reality hit him like a punch to the gut. They were running out of money. The dream was turning into a nightmare. This isn't a fictional horror story. It's the looming reality for millions. A recent study from the Federal Reserve revealed a shocking statistic. Nearly a quarter of American adults have zero retirement savings. Not a little. Zero. And for those who are saving, the median retirement account balance for a 60-year-old is just over $65,000. $65,000 to last 20 or 30 years. That's not a retirement. That's a crisis waiting to happen. So what's the difference between a retirement of freedom and a retirement of fear? It's not about luck. It's not about timing the stock market or finding some secret investment. It's about avoiding a few critical, yet shockingly common mistakes. In this presentation, we are going to pull back the curtain on the most devastating retirement planning mistakes that are quietly sabotaging the financial future of millions of Americans. More importantly, I'm going to give you a clear step-by-step playbook on how to avoid them, so you can build a retirement that is not just survivable, but one you can truly thrive in. We're going to turn anxiety into action and confusion into clarity. The first, and by far the most destructive mistake, is what I call the someday sickness. It's the mistake of having no plan at all, or worse, having a vague, fuzzy hope that it'll all just work out. This is the single biggest reason why people like Mark and Susan end up in a panic. They saved, yes, but they never had a plan. They were on a ship without a rudder, just hoping the current would take them to the right shore. Think about it. You wouldn't build a house without a blueprint, would you? You wouldn't just start nailing boards together and hope it turns into a stable, comfortable home. You'd have an architect draw up detailed plans. You'd know the dimensions of every room, where the plumbing goes, how the electrical is wired. You'd have a destination in mind before you even laid the foundation. So why, when it comes to building the most important financial structure of our lives, our retirement, do so many of us try to do it without a blueprint? The answer is usually a mix of fear and procrastination. We're scared to look at the numbers. We think it's too complicated. We tell ourselves, I'm too young to worry about this. Or, I'll start saving more when I get that next raise. Someday. The problem is, someday is a phantom. It never arrives. And while you're waiting for someday, your most powerful ally, time, is slipping through your fingers. Every day you wait, the mountain you have to climb gets steeper. This no-plan approach was dangerous 30 years ago. Today, it's financial suicide. We are living longer than ever before. A 65-year-old couple today has a very high chance that at least one of them will live past 90. That's a 25 to 30-year retirement you need to fund. Pensions, the bedrock of our parents' retirement, are nearly extinct in the private sector. And the cost of healthcare is skyrocketing, with the average couple today needing an estimated $300,000 or more in savings just for medical expenses in retirement, after taxes. Hoping it will work out is not a strategy, it's a surrender. So, how do we cure the someday sickness and avoid this number one mistake? We build a blueprint, and it's not as complicated as you think. It starts with 3 simple, powerful steps. Step 1 is to define your destination. Forget the spreadsheets and the financial jargon for a minute. I want you to grab a piece of paper and dream. What does your ideal retirement actually look like? And I mean, get specific. Don't just write travel. Write spend 3 weeks in Italy exploring the Tuscan countryside. Don't just write spend time with family. Write be able to fly my grandkids out to visit twice a year. and take them to Disney World. Do you want to move to a warmer climate? Start a passion project? Volunteer? Downsize your home or buy an RV? Paint a vivid, detailed picture of the life you want to live. This isn't just fluffy feel-good stuff. This is the why. This is the emotional fuel that will motivate you to save and invest when it feels hard. It transforms retirement planning from a boring math problem into the exciting act of designing your future life. Step 2, now that you know what you want, is to put a price tag on it. This is where people get intimidated, but we're going to make it simple. We're going to do some back-of-the-napkin math to find your number. A good rule of thumb to start with is the 80% rule. The idea is that you'll likely need about 80% of your pre-retirement income to maintain a similar lifestyle after you stop working. So, if you and your spouse earn $100,000 a year combined, you should plan for needing about $80,000 a year in retirement. Once you have that annual number, let's say it's $80,000, you can use a famous principle called the 4% rule to get a rough estimate of your total retirement savings goal. The 4% rule suggests that you can safely withdraw 4% of your retirement savings in your first year of retirement, and then adjust that amount for inflation each following year, without a high risk of running out of money for 30 years. To find your target number, you simply multiply your desired annual income by 25. So, in our example, $80,000 a year times 25 equals $2 million. Now, before you panic and click away from this video, listen carefully. That number, 2 million or whatever yours is not meant to scare you. It's meant to empower you. It's your North Star. It's the destination on your map. For the first time, you might have a concrete, tangible goal instead of a vague, undefined cloud of anxiety. It's just a starting point, but it's a critical one. Which brings us to step 3, the reality check. Where are you now? This is the moment of truth. You need to take a clear, honest look at your current financial situation. How much do you have saved in your 401k, your IRAs, your brokerage accounts? Add it all up. Now you have 2 critical pieces of information: your destination, your target number, and your current location, your total savings. The space between those 2 points is your map. It's the journey you need to plan for. If that gap looks like the Grand Canyon, do not despair. Do not feel shame. Remember the old proverb: the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Simply by doing this exercise, you have moved from the world of passive hope to the world of active planning. You are already miles ahead of the person who is too afraid to even look. Knowing the gap is the first, most powerful step toward closing it. By taking these first simple steps, defining your dream, finding your number, and assessing your reality, you've already conquered the most common and devastating mistake in retirement planning. You've replaced vague hope with a concrete destination. But getting the destination right is only half the battle. The vehicle you use to get there, your savings strategy, your investment choices, is where the second major mistake trips up even the most diligent planners, often without them even realizing it until it's far too late. This is the fundamental mismatch that sabotages millions of American retirements. It's like knowing you need to drive from New York to Los Angeles, but choosing to make the journey on a bicycle. You have the right destination but the wrong vehicle. You're guaranteed to fail, not because of a lack of effort, but because of a flawed strategy from day one. The mistake isn't just picking the wrong stocks. It's a much deeper, more psychological error. It's the mistake of being terrified of losing money, so you choose a path that guarantees you will. It sounds paradoxical, but it is the devastating truth for so many. This is the mistake of playing it too safe. Let's imagine 2 friends, Sarah and Tom. They're both 30 years old. They both read the same books, listened to the same podcasts, and they both figured out they need about $1.5 million to retire comfortably. They both start saving $500 a month. On paper, they are identical, but their mindset, their relationship with risk, is worlds apart. Sarah's parents got hit hard in the 2008 financial crisis. She watched them lose a significant chunk of their nest egg, and the fear of that event is seared into her memory. So, when she starts her retirement fund, her number 1 priority is capital preservation. I will not lose my principal, she tells herself. Feels like the most responsible decision in the world. She diligently puts her $500 a month into a high-yield savings account, CDs, and maybe a few ultra-safe government bonds. She checks her balance, and it's always going up, slowly but surely. She sleeps soundly at night, proud of her discipline and her safe approach. She's not gambling in the casino of the stock market. Tom, on the other hand, understands that the 2008 crisis, while painful, was a temporary downturn in a market that has trended upwards for over a century. He knows that to achieve real growth, he needs to take on calculated risk. He opens a Roth IRA and puts his $500 a month into a simple, low-cost S&P 500 index fund. He's not a stock market genius. He's just buying a tiny slice of the 500 largest companies in America. Some years his account value drops. In a bad year it might drop a lot. He feels a knot in his stomach, but he remembers his time horizon. He's not retiring for 35 years. He keeps investing month after month, whether the market is up or down. For the first few years there isn't a huge difference between them. Sarah feels smug. She might be earning a measly 2%, but Tom's account just dropped 10% in a market correction. See, she thinks, I told you it was a casino. But what Sarah fails to see is the invisible thief that is robbing her blind, day after day, year after year. That thief is inflation. Inflation is the silent killer of wealth. It's the reason a candy bar that cost a nickel in the 1950s costs over $1 today. If your money isn't growing faster than the rate of inflation, you are losing purchasing power. You are getting poorer. Sarah's safe 2% return when inflation is running at 3% is actually a negative 1% real return. She is actively losing money every single year, but it doesn't show up on her bank statement. Her statement shows her balance inching up, tricking her into a false sense of security. Her wealth is like an ice cube on a warm day. It looks solid, but it's constantly, silently melting away. Tom's investment, however, is designed to combat this. Over the long run, the S&P 500 has historically returned an average of around 10% per year. After factoring in inflation, that's a real return of about 7%. His money isn't just keeping up with the rising cost of living. It's lapping it over and over again. Now let's fast forward 35 years. Sarah and Tom are both 65, ready to retire. They've both been incredibly disciplined, saving $500 a month without fail. That's $210,000 of their own hard-earned money each. Sarah opens her final statement. Her disciplined saving and safe 2% annual return have grown her $210,000 into about $422,000. It's a respectable sum, and she's proud of it. But then she looks at the cost of things, healthcare, housing, food, and a cold dread begins to set in. $400,000 doesn't buy what it used to. It's not enough. Then Tom checks his account. His $210,000, invested in that risky index fund, experienced booms and busts. It survived recessions, corrections, and moments of panic. But through the power of compound growth, earning that historical market average, his account is now worth over $1.7 million. Let that sink in. $1.7 million versus $422,000, a difference of nearly $1.3 million. They had the same goal, the same savings habit, the same starting line. But one chose a bicycle and the other chose a rocket ship. Sarah's fear, her obsession with avoiding any and all short-term risk, cost her the very security she was trying to create. The greatest risk she took was taking no risk at all. So how do you avoid this? How do you choose the right vehicle? First, you must understand your time horizon. This is the single most important factor. If you are in your 20s, 30s, or even 40s, you have decades before you need this money. Time is your superpower. It allows you to ride out the market's volatility. A market crash when you're 32 isn't a disaster. It's a fire sale. It's an opportunity to buy assets at a discount. The closer you get to retirement, the more you should dial back the risk, shifting more towards capital preservation like Sarah. But in your early years, growth is the only objective. Second, embrace simplicity and diversification. You do not need to be a Wall Street trader to build wealth. For the vast majority of Americans, a simple low-cost investment vehicle is all you need. Consider two main options. The first is a target date fund. You pick the fund with the year closest to your planned retirement, say a target date 2060 fund. This fund automatically manages your risk for you. It starts aggressive when you're young and gradually becomes more conservative as you approach 2060. It is the ultimate set it and forget it strategy. The second option is building a simple portfolio of broad market index funds, like an S&P 500 fund or a total stock market fund. By buying these, you are not betting on a single company like Apple or Tesla to succeed. You are betting on the long-term success of the entire American or global economy. Historically, that has been the safest, most reliable bet you can make. Finally, you must reframe your definition of risk. The risk isn't watching your 401k balance drop by 15% in a bad year. That's just volatility, the price of admission for long-term growth. The real catastrophic risk is reaching age 65 with a pile of cash that has been ravaged by inflation for 40 years, leaving you unable to afford the life you worked so hard to build. The risk of not investing, of letting your money stagnate in a savings account, is infinitely greater than the risk of investing it wisely for the long haul. Sarah's mistake was born from a place of fear and a misunderstanding of what safety truly means in a financial context. She protected her principal, but she sacrificed her future. She won the battle against market crashes but lost the war against a rising cost of living. But what about the person who looks at Tom's $1.7 million and thinks, "That's not enough. I can do better. I can double that"? That's when the pendulum swings too far in the other direction. That's when discipline gives way to greed, and investing turns into gambling. And that is when the allure of fast money leads to the third, and perhaps most catastrophic retirement mistake of all: chasing the next big thing. This is the mistake of abandoning a sound, time-tested strategy in favor of a high-risk gamble, fueled by hype and the fear of missing out. It's the belief that you can shortcut your way to wealth, that you've found a cheat code the rest of the world is too blind to see. It's a story I've seen play out time and time again, and it almost always ends in the same place: heartbreak. Let me tell you about a man we'll call David. David was the epitome of a responsible saver. For 20 years he did everything right. He was a high school history teacher, his wife a nurse. They weren't getting rich, but they were diligent. Every single paycheck, a portion went directly into his 403(b) retirement plan, invested in a simple, low-cost S&P 500 index fund. He maxed out his Roth IRA. He lived below his means. He was on track for a comfortable, if not extravagant, retirement. It was boring, it was predictable, and it was working. But then something shifted. It was around 2021. The world was awash in stimulus money and stories of overnight millionaires. David's brother-in-law, a guy who'd never held a steady job, suddenly paid off his mortgage after investing in a cryptocurrency named after a dog. His 22-year-old nephew was posting pictures from a luxury vacation in Bali, paid for by profits from a meme stock that was, by all rational metrics, a failing video game retailer. Everywhere David looked, it seemed like people were getting rich and they were doing it fast. He'd log onto social media and see an endless stream of rocket ship emojis and talk of diamond hands. He'd overhear his own students in the hallway talking about the $500 they made on some obscure digital token. Slowly, insidiously, a dangerous thought began to creep into his mind. I'm a fool. He looked at his retirement account, the one he'd spent 2 decades building. Its steady 8 to 10% average annual return suddenly felt pathetic. It felt like walking to a destination while everyone else was taking a private jet. The discipline he was once proud of now felt like cowardice. The patience he once valued now felt like ignorance. He started small. He took $5,000 from his savings account, money earmarked for a new roof, and bought into a hot new crypto project that promised to revolutionize decentralized finance. He didn't really understand what that meant, but the YouTube videos were slick and the online forums were buzzing with excitement. Within 2 weeks, his $5,000 was worth $12,000. The feeling was electric. It was a rush he'd never felt from his index fund. It wasn't just the money. It was the feeling of being smart, of being in on a secret. He had outsmarted the system. The old rules didn't apply anymore. This was a new era. So he went bigger. He sold off $100,000 worth of his S&P 500 index fund, the bedrock of his family's future, and poured it into this crypto project and a handful of other speculative tech stocks that were all the rage. His wife was nervous, but he reassured her. "This is our one chance," he told her. "This is how we retire in 5 years, not 20. This is for us." He wasn't investing anymore. He was rolling the dice for a jackpot. For a few weeks he felt like a genius. His speculative portfolio surged. The numbers on the screen were intoxicating. He started looking at beach houses online. He imagined the look on his colleagues' faces when he announced his early retirement. And then the music stopped. It wasn't a gradual decline. It was a cliff. Interest rates started to rise. The speculative frenzy that had lifted these assets evaporated. His revolutionary crypto project lost 50% of its value in a single week. The meme stocks cratered. He told himself and his wife that it was just a healthy correction. The forums told him to buy the dip. So he did. He took out a $10,000 cash advance on a credit card and bought more, averaging down. But it kept falling. 50% became 70%. 70% became 90%. Within 6 months, the $115,000 he had gambled was worth less than $8,000. The dream of a 5-year retirement was gone. In its place was a crater, a black hole in the center of their financial plan. He had to confess to his wife that not only was the roof money gone, but a massive chunk of their life savings had vanished with it. The shame was suffocating. He hadn't just lost money. He had gambled with his family's security, all for the allure of a shortcut. David's story is a tragedy, and it's one that plays out in different forms for millions of Americans. So how do you avoid it? How do you stay disciplined when the world around you seems to be getting rich overnight? First, you must internalize this fundamental truth. Investing is the disciplined act of owning a piece of a productive business. Gambling is betting on a price movement. When you buy an S&P 500 index fund, you are buying a fractional share of 500 of the most profitable companies in the world. You own a piece of their factories, their patents, their employees, their profits. When you buy a token with no underlying revenue or a stock with no earnings, you are simply betting that someone else will be willing to pay you more for it in the future. That's not a business plan. That's a game of musical chairs. Second, implement what I call the Vegas rule. If you absolutely cannot resist the urge to speculate, you must quarantine it. Take a small, definite amount of money, an amount you would be completely comfortable setting on fire, and put it in a separate account. This is your Vegas money. Maybe it's 1% of your net worth, 5% at the absolute maximum. You can do whatever you want with it. Buy the speculative crypto, the penny stock, the lottery ticket. But the rule is, once that money is gone, it's gone. You don't replenish it from your savings, you don't sell your real investments to feed it, and you certainly don't borrow money for it. This allows you to scratch the itch without burning down the house. Third, and this is crucial, curate your information diet. The financial media, and especially financial social media, is an engine of hype. Its business model is to provoke an emotional response, greed or fear, to keep you clicking and watching. Unsubscribe from the get-rich-quick gurus. Stop watching the 24/7 market channels that thrive on panic. Delete the app that lets you check your portfolio 30 times a day. Your long-term retirement plan should be boring. If your investing strategy is providing you with daily entertainment and adrenaline, you're probably doing it wrong. Finally, you have to reframe your mindset from FOMO, the fear of missing out, to JOMO, the joy of missing out. Find joy in missing out on the sleepless nights. Find joy in missing out on the gut-wrenching 50% drops. Find joy in missing out on the stress of trying to time an unpredictable market. The peace of mind that comes from a slow, steady, and proven plan is infinitely more valuable than the fleeting thrill of a speculative gamble. Building real, lasting wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. It's earned through decades of discipline, the magic of compounding, and resisting the siren song of the shortcut. Avoiding the temptation to gamble your future is a massive step. But even for the most disciplined long-term investors, there's a far more subtle danger, a silent killer of wealth that can drain tens, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars from your retirement accounts over time, often without you ever noticing. It's not a market crash or a bad bet. It's a slow, steady bleed hidden in plain sight. And that brings us to mistake number 4. Ignoring the devastating power of investment fees. This is the silent killer of retirement dreams. Think of your retirement account not as a sealed vault, but as a bucket you're trying to fill with water over 40 years. Now, imagine someone drilled a tiny, almost invisible hole in the bottom. At first, you barely notice a drop or two. But over 4 decades, that slow, steady drip can empty a third of your bucket. That's what fees do. They are the tiny holes draining your future wealth, one nearly invisible percentage point at a time. Let me tell you a story about 2 friends, Mark and David. They both graduated from the same college, started jobs at the same time, and were both smart enough to start investing in their company's 401k on day 1. They were 25 years old. Both of them contributed $5,000 a year. And for the sake of this story, let's say they were incredible investors and their chosen funds both earned an average of 7% per year every year for the next 40 years. On the surface, their financial futures look identical. But they're not. They are catastrophically different. Why? Because of that tiny hole. Mark, who spent about an hour researching his 401k options, chose a simple S&P 500 index fund. His fund had an expense ratio, the fee of just 0.1%. A tenth of 1%. That's like paying $10 a year to have $10,000 managed. Pretty good. David, on the other hand, was a bit overwhelmed by the options. He saw a fund with a fancy name, a slick marketing brochure, and a star manager who was supposedly a market genius. He chose that one. Its expense ratio was 1.1%. Now you're thinking, what's the big deal? It's a 1% difference. 1 penny on the dollar. In a world where your phone bill goes up 5% and a coffee costs 10% more than last year, 1% feels like background noise. Feels insignificant. And that is precisely why it is so dangerous. Because that 1% isn't a one-time fee. It's a charge that gets levied year after year after year. And it doesn't just reduce your contribution. It compounds against you, eating away at your future growth. Let's fast forward 40 years. Mark and David are both 65, ready to retire. They meet for a coffee to compare their final account balances. Mark, with his low-fee fund, looks at his statement. His 7% annual return, minus his 0.1% fee, gave him a net return of 6.9%. After 40 years of consistent investing, his retirement account is worth $1,048,000. He's a millionaire. He's ready to enjoy his golden years. Then David pulls out his statement. He also earned 7% a year. But his 1.1% fee reduced his net return to just 5.9%. He opens the statement and his heart sinks. His final balance is $847,000. Let that sink in. $201,000. That's the difference. David has over $200,000 less than Mark, even though they invested the exact same amount of money and their funds achieved the exact same market performance. That 1% fee didn't just cost him 1% of his money. It cost him nearly 20% of his entire nest egg. It cost him years of financial freedom. The market genius he paid for didn't beat the market. The fees just ensured David's portfolio wouldn't keep up with it. That $200,000 didn't just vanish. It went into the pockets of the fund management company. David worked for it, he saved it, he invested it, but someone else got to keep it. This isn't a rare occurrence. It's the norm for millions of Americans who are unknowingly being bled dry by fees they don't understand. The most common culprit is the expense ratio, which is the annual fee of fund charges to cover its operating costs. But there are others. There are 12b-1 fees, which are literally you paying the fund to market itself to other people. There are trading costs, which are incurred by the fund when it buys and sells stocks. And these aren't even included in the main expense ratio. And if you have a financial advisor who charges a percentage of your assets under management, say another 1%, that's a second layer of fees coming out of your pocket. A 1% advisor fee on top of a 1.1% fund fee means you're losing over 2% of your money every single year before you even make a dime. That's a financial headwind that is almost impossible to overcome. So why do we fall for this? 2 reasons: complexity and marketing. Investment prospectuses are written in dense legalese designed to be confusing. And the financial industry is brilliant at marketing. They sell the idea that higher fees mean you're getting a higher level of expertise, that an expensive, actively managed fund will protect you from downturns and outperform in the good times. But the data tells a brutally different story. Standard & Poor's releases a report called the SPIVA scorecard. Year after year, it shows that over any long-term period, 10, 15, 20 years, more than 90% of active fund managers in the US fail to beat their benchmark index. That means 9 times out of 10, the people paying higher fees for a genius stock picker would have been better off just buying a simple, cheap index fund like Mark did. You are paying a premium for underperformance. So, how do you avoid becoming David? It's time to become a fee detective. First, audit your accounts. Right now, log into your 401k, your IRA, any brokerage account you have. For every single fund you own, find the expense ratio. It might be listed as ER or net expense ratio. If you can't find it easily, Google the fund's name or ticker symbol followed by expense ratio. Write it down. Knowledge is power. Second, know what's good and what's bad. For a broad stock market index fund, a good expense ratio is under 0.1%. Some are as low as 0.02%. That's practically free. For a target date fund, you should look for something under 0.2%. If you see any fund with an expense ratio over 0.5%, a giant red flag should go up. If you see anything approaching 1%, you should have a very, very good reason for owning it. And frankly, a good reason rarely exists. Third, embrace the power of passive investing. For the vast majority of Americans, the core of their retirement portfolio should be in low-cost, broadly diversified index funds or ETFs. Stop trying to find the needle in the haystack. Just buy the whole haystack for next to nothing. Fourth, check your 401k's entire lineup. Sometimes your employer's plan only offers high-cost options. It's a tragedy, but it happens. If that's your case, here's the strategy. Contribute just enough to your 401k to get the full employer match. That's free money, and you never turn down free money. But once you've secured the match, direct every additional dollar of your retirement savings into a personal IRA, either a Roth or a traditional. In your own IRA, you have a nearly unlimited universe of low-cost investment choices. Don't let a bad 401k plan sabotage your entire future. By plugging these tiny leaks, you're not just saving a percentage point. You are potentially adding tens, even hundreds of thousands of dollars back into your own pocket. You are buying yourself extra years of retirement, more security, and more freedom. It might be the highest paying work you ever do in a single afternoon. You've now plugged the leak in your financial bucket by slashing those parasitic fees. Your bucket is holding water much more efficiently. But what if the bucket itself is in the wrong place? What if it's sitting in a desert when it should be in a rainforest? Or worse, what if it's left out in the middle of a hurricane? This brings us to one of the biggest balancing acts in all of finance. A mistake that can either starve your portfolio of growth or expose it to catastrophic risk. And that is mistake number 5. Failing to properly manage your risk. It's the financial equivalent of meticulously building a beautiful house, but setting the foundation on a seismic fault line. Or worse, building it with no foundation at all. This mistake isn't about picking the wrong stock. It's about having the wrong blueprint for your entire financial future. It manifests in two opposite, but equally destructive ways. On one side, you have the ultra-conservative investor. This is the person terrified by the nightly news, who sees every market dip as the beginning of the next Great Depression. Their strategy is driven by one emotion, fear. So they keep the vast majority of their retirement savings in cash, CDs, or very low-yield bonds. They think they're being safe. They think they've built an impenetrable fortress. But what they've actually built is a prison. A prison where their money is sentenced to a slow, agonizing death by 1,000 cuts. That killer's name? Inflation. Let's imagine two friends, Sarah and Tom, who both started working in 1990. They each saved $100,000 for retirement by the year 2000. Sarah, terrified of the dot-com bubble she kept hearing about, put her $100,000 into a high-yield savings account. She felt smart. Her balance never went down. Tom, on the other hand, put his $100,000 into a simple S&P 500 index fund. He watched it drop during the dot-com bust and again in 2008, and it was gut-wrenching. Sarah would call him saying, "See? I told you it was all a casino. My money is safe." Fast forward to today. Sarah still has her $100,000, plus a little bit of interest. Maybe she has $130,000. She feels proud that she never lost a penny. But that $130,000 has the purchasing power of about $65,000 from the year 2000. She didn't lose money, but she lost half of her life. The retirement she planned for is now a fantasy. She can't afford it. Her money didn't grow, it just got old. Tom, however, held on. He gritted his teeth through the downturns, kept investing, and let the market do what it has historically always done: recover and grow. His $100,000, even after surviving two of the biggest crashes in modern history, would have grown to over $700,000. Same initial money, same time period. One person played not to lose and ended up losing everything that mattered. The other understood that calculated risk is the price of admission for real growth. Being too safe is one of an investor's greatest risks. But then you have the other extreme, the gambler, the risk taker who is all gas, no brakes. This is the person who gets their investment advice from a Reddit forum, who is 100% in volatile growth stocks or speculative assets, even as they're just 5 years away from retirement. Their portfolio isn't a fortress. It's a kite in a hurricane. And for a while it can be exhilarating. They see their balance soar during a bull market and they feel like a genius. They mock the slow and steady investors. Let's talk about David, who was 58 in 2007. He'd done well for himself, accumulating a nest egg of $1.5 million. He planned to retire at 62, but he was aggressive. All of it was in stocks. He figured, why settle for a boring 4% return from bonds when the market was giving him 15%? Then 2008 happened. The global financial crisis hit, and it hit his portfolio like a freight train. Within 18 months, his $1.5 million was worth about $750,000. Half of it gone. His retirement at 62 evaporated. He had to keep working. He had to tell his wife they couldn't buy the lake house they dreamed of for 30 years. He was forced to work through his mid-60s, not because he wanted to, but because he had to, desperately trying to rebuild what he'd lost. He made the catastrophic mistake of taking short-term risk with long-term money that he needed soon. He didn't have the one thing you need to recover from a crash like that: time. So how do you avoid these two disastrous extremes? How do you build a portfolio that's both a growth engine and a shock absorber? The answer lies in asset allocation, which is just a fancy term for the mix of investments you own, primarily stocks and bonds. And the key is to match that mix to your age and your timeline. For decades, the classic rule of thumb was the 100 minus your age rule. If you're 30 years old, you subtract 30 from 100, which gives you 70. That meant you should have 70% of your portfolio in stocks and 30% in bonds. If you're 60, you'd have 40% in stocks and 60% in bonds. The logic is simple and sound. When you're young, you have decades to recover from market crashes, so you can afford to be aggressive and aim for high growth with stocks. As you get older and closer to needing the money, you gradually shift more into the stability and income of bonds to protect what you've built. Now, because we're living longer, many advisors have updated this to 110 or 120 minus your age, allowing for a bit more stock exposure for a longer period. But for most people, trying to manage this yourself is a recipe for failure. We forget to rebalance. We get emotional. We sell when stocks are low and buy when they're high, the exact opposite of what we should do. Luckily, there is a brilliantly simple solution that solves this problem for 99% of Americans. It's called a target date fund. You've probably seen them in your 401k options, with names like Retirement 2050 Fund or Target 2045. Think of it as a retirement portfolio on autopilot. Here's how it works. You pick the fund with the year closest to when you plan to retire. If you plan to retire around the year 2050, you put your money in the 2050 fund. That's it. You're done. Inside that single fund is a diversified mix of US stocks, international stocks, and bonds. When you're young, the 2050 fund will be aggressive, maybe 90% stocks, to maximize your growth. But here's the magic. As you get closer to the year 2050, the fund automatically and gradually becomes more conservative for you. It sells off stocks and buys more bonds, protecting your capital just like the 100 minus your age rule suggests, but without you ever having to lift a finger. It takes the emotion, the guesswork, and the inertia out of the equation. It is perhaps the single greatest invention for the average retirement saver in the last 50 years. For most people, a low-cost target date fund is the perfect solution to the asset allocation dilemma. It prevents you from being too reckless when you're nearing retirement, and it prevents you from being too timid when you have a long runway for growth. It builds a sturdy, all-weather ship and adjusts the sails for you as you cross the long ocean towards retirement. But even if you build the perfect, storm-proof ship with the right allocation, there's a silent leak below the waterline that can sink your retirement just as surely as a market crash. A hidden parasite that millions of Americans are paying for without even realizing it. A parasite that quietly siphons off tens, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars from your nest egg over your lifetime. And that brings us to mistake number 6. Ignoring the slow, silent, and devastating bleed of investment fees. This isn't a dramatic market crash that makes headlines. It's a quiet killer. A leak in the financial boat that you don't notice until you're halfway across the ocean, and your ankles are wet. Most people think, oh, it's just a 1% fee. 1% of my money. What's the big deal? That single thought, that seemingly harmless assumption, is one of the most destructive misconceptions in personal finance. It has cost American families not just thousands, but trillions of dollars in lost retirement wealth. Let's reframe this. It's not 1% of your money. It's often 20, 30, or even 50% of your potential future earnings. That's the real cost. Let me prove it to you with a story of two friends, Sarah and Tom. Both Sarah and Tom are 30 years old. They both have a 401k at work. They both decide to get serious about saving for retirement. They each start with an initial $10,000 and commit to investing $500 every single month for the next 35 years, until they're 65. Both of their investment portfolios earn a respectable and identical 8% average annual return before any fees are taken out. On the surface, their situations look exactly the same, but there's one tiny, almost invisible difference. Sarah does a little research. She logs into her 401k portal and picks a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. It's simple, it's diversified, and its expense ratio, the yearly fee, is a minuscule 0.04%. It's practically free. Tom, on the other hand, talks to the advisor who visits his office once a year. The advisor is friendly, confident, and recommends an aggressively managed growth fund that he says is designed to beat the market. Sounds great. Tom doesn't dig into the paperwork. He just signs up. Hidden in that paperwork is the fund's expense ratio, 1.5%. A difference of just over 1%. Seems like nothing. A rounding error. So what happens? For 35 years, they both diligently invest. They both get the same 8% market return. They both ride the same waves of the economy. They both retire at age 65. Sarah logs into her account for the last time before retiring. She looks at her balance and her jaw drops. She has $1,184,000. A lifetime of discipline has paid off. She's a millionaire. Now it's Tom's turn. He's excited. He's been saving for decades. He logs in. His balance, $835,000. Now don't get me wrong. That's still a lot of money. But let's be crystal clear about what just happened. Tom and Sarah invested the exact same amount of money, for the exact same amount of time, in funds that achieve the exact same 8% market return. Yet Sarah is walking into retirement with $349,000 more than Tom. $349,000. That's the price of a house in many parts of America. That's a decade or more of retirement income. That's the ability to travel the world, to help your grandkids with college, to have peace of mind. Where did that money go? It didn't vanish in a market crash. It was systematically siphoned out of his account day by day, year by year, by that tiny 1.5% fee. He essentially paid $250,000 for the privilege of owning a fund that didn't even perform any better than Sarah's simple, boring, low-cost index fund. He paid a premium price for a generic product. This is the tyranny of compounding fees. The fee isn't just taken from your contribution. It's taken from your earnings. And then, the next year, you lose out on the earnings that those earnings would have generated. It's a vicious, wealth-destroying cycle. So why do we fall for this? 3 reasons. First, invisibility. Fees are deducted automatically from your account's assets. You never write a check. You never get a bill. You don't see $1,500 for fund management fees on your statement. You just see a smaller number at the end of the year than you should have, but you have no way of knowing what it should have been. It's a painless extraction. Second, deliberate complexity. The financial industry often uses jargon to confuse and intimidate you. Prospectus documents are 50 pages of dense legalese. They talk about 12b1 fees, front-end loads, back-end loads, and expense ratios. It's designed to make your eyes glaze over, so you just give up and say, okay, whatever you recommend. And third, misplaced trust. We assume the person in the suit from the big-name company has our best interests at heart. But many so-called advisors are actually just salespeople. They are paid a commission to sell you certain high-fee products, whether those products are good for you or not. They aren't necessarily bad people. They're just working within a system that incentivizes them to sell you expensive funds. So how do you fight back? How do you kill this parasite? You become a fee detective. It's one of the highest paying jobs you'll ever have. First, your 401k. By law, your employer must provide you with a detailed fee disclosure statement every year. Find it. It's probably buried in your online portal, or was sent in an email you ignored. Open it up and look for the expense ratio for every single fund option you have. If you can't find it, call HR or your plan administrator, and do not hang up until they tell you where to find a list of the funds and their associated expense ratios. You are looking for funds, ideally index funds, with expense ratios below 0.2%. If you see numbers like 0.8%, 1.2%, or even higher, that is a massive red flag. Second, for any IRAs or brokerage accounts, this is even easier. Go to any major financial website like Yahoo Finance or Morningstar, type in the ticker symbol of your mutual fund or ETF, and the expense ratio will be listed right there on the summary page. It takes 10 seconds. Third, if you work with a financial advisor, you need to ask them 2 questions point blank. Question 1. Are you a fiduciary? A fiduciary has a legal obligation to act in your absolute best financial interest. The only acceptable answer is an immediate and unequivocal yes. If they hesitate, if they say we act to a suitability standard, or if they try to change the subject, you walk away. Question 2. How are you paid? You want to hear the words fee only. This means you pay them directly, either an hourly rate, a flat fee, or a percentage of the assets they manage for you. What you don't want to hear is fee-based or commission-based. which is code for, I get paid by other companies to sell you their expensive products. The solution for most Americans is breathtakingly simple. Invest in low-cost, broadly diversified index funds and ETFs. Study after study has shown that over the long term, the vast majority of high-fee, actively managed funds fail to beat their benchmark index anyway. So why pay a fortune for guaranteed underperformance? By taking an hour of your time to investigate your own accounts and move your money from high-fee funds to low-fee alternatives, you could be making a decision worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is the single easiest way to add rocket fuel to your retirement savings without saving an extra dime. By slaying the fee parasite, you've just protected hundreds of thousands of dollars for your future self. But what good is a massive nest egg if it gets completely wiped out in a few short years by the single biggest, most unpredictable expense in retirement? This financial atomic bomb is something most retirement plans completely fail to account for. It can decimate even the most carefully laid plans, and it's the subject of our seventh mistake. That atomic bomb is long-term care. And the seventh mistake is the most common of all, completely ignoring its catastrophic cost until it's too late. Let me tell you about a couple. We'll call them David and Sarah. They did everything right. They started saving in their 20s, maxed out their 401ks, paid off their house, and built a nest egg of $1.2 million. They were the poster children for a successful retirement. They traveled, they played with their grandkids, they enjoyed the fruits of a lifetime of hard work. Then, at age 78, David had a severe stroke. He survived, but he could no longer walk, dress himself, or handle his daily needs. Sarah, now 76, tried to care for him at home. But the physical and emotional toll was crushing. After 6 months of sleepless nights and backbreaking work, she realized she couldn't do it alone. They hired an in-home health aide. The cost? $6,000 a month. That's $72,000 a year, draining their carefully planned retirement income. After 2 years, David's condition worsened, and he needed round-the-clock care in a nursing home. The cost for a private room in their state was over $10,000 a month, $120,000 a year. Within 4 years, their $1.2 million nest egg, the retirement they had spent 40 years building, was gone. Every last penny, wiped out. Sarah was forced to sell their family home and rely on her children and a meager Social Security check just to survive. Their dream retirement became a nightmare, not because of a stock market crash, but because of a predictable life event they refused to plan for. This isn't a scare tactic. This is the reality for millions of American families. The numbers are staggering. According to the latest Genworth Cost of Care survey, the national median cost for a home health aide is over $60,000 a year. For a room in an assisted living facility, it's over $54,000. And for a private room in a nursing home like the one David needed, the median cost is over $108,000 per year. In states like New York or California, you can easily double those numbers. Now I know what you're thinking. That won't happen to me. But the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services states that a person turning 65 today has an almost 70% chance of needing some type of long-term care services in their remaining years. It's not a matter of if, but when, for how long and how much. The next thought is often, my family will take care of me. While that's a beautiful sentiment, it's a deeply flawed financial plan. Asking your children to become your full-time caregivers can be devastating. It can force them to quit their jobs, derailing their own careers and retirement savings. It puts immense strain on their marriages, their health, and their relationship with you. They love you, but you are effectively asking them to sacrifice their own future to manage your present. It's a burden no loving parent ever wants to impose. But the most dangerous misconception, the one that destroys more retirements than any other, is the belief that the government will step in. People think, I've paid into Medicare my whole life. It will cover me. This is a catastrophic misunderstanding. Let me be crystal clear. Medicare does not pay for long-term custodial care. I'll say it again. Medicare does not pay for the kind of care David needed, help with bathing, dressing, eating, or moving around. Medicare will only cover short-term, skilled nursing care for a very limited time, up to 100 days, and only after a qualifying hospital stay. It's designed for rehabilitation, not for long-term living assistance. Relying on Medicare for long-term care is like relying on a fire extinguisher to rebuild your house after it burns down. Okay, you might say, what about Medicaid? Yes, Medicaid does cover long-term care. But here's the brutal truth about Medicaid. It's a program for the financially destitute. To qualify, you must first spend down virtually all of your life savings. The exact asset limit varies by state, but it's typically around $2,000 for an individual. Think about that. You have to burn through your entire nest egg, your 401k, your IRAs, your savings, everything David and Sarah had worked for, until you are legally impoverished. Only then will the government step in. And they have what's called a 5-year look-back period. You can't just give your money to your kids at the last minute to qualify. The government will scrutinize every financial transaction you've made for the past 5 years. Any large gifts or transfers can result in a penalty period where you are ineligible for coverage, leaving you and your family to pay the full, crippling cost out of pocket. Qualifying for Medicaid means you lose control. You lose your legacy. You lose the ability to leave anything for your children. It is the absolute last resort, not a primary strategy. So how do you avoid this financial atom bomb? How do you protect your family and your assets? The first step is the simplest and the hardest. You have to confront it. You have to stop pretending it won't happen and have an honest conversation with your spouse and a qualified financial advisor. Acknowledge the risk. The second step is to build a plan. You have several options. For the ultra-wealthy, those with $5 million or more in liquid assets, self-insuring is a possibility. You simply earmark a portion of your portfolio to cover potential costs. For everyone else, this is a reckless gamble. The traditional solution is long-term care insurance. You pay a premium, and if you need care, the policy pays a daily or monthly benefit up to a certain maximum. The downside is that premiums have skyrocketed in recent years, and if you never need the care, all that money you paid in premiums is gone. It's a use it or lose it proposition that many people are uncomfortable with. This has led to the rise of a much better solution for many families: hybrid or asset-based long-term care policies. These are brilliant financial tools that combine a life insurance policy or an annuity with a long-term care benefit. Here's how it works. You reposition a chunk of your assets, say $100,000 from a CD or savings account, into this hybrid policy. That single premium might immediately create a $250,000 long-term care benefit pool and a $150,000 tax-free death benefit for your heirs. This solves every problem. If you need long-term care, you have a significant fund to draw from, protecting the rest of your retirement assets. If you live a long, healthy life and never need care, your heirs receive a tax-free death benefit, usually much larger than the original premium you paid. And if you change your mind and want your money back, most policies have a return of premium feature. There is no use it or lose it. Your money is guaranteed to work for you in one of 3 ways: for your care, for your heirs, or back to you. Finally, don't forget the power of a health savings account, or HSA. If you have a high-deductible health plan, you can contribute to an HSA with pre-tax dollars. It grows tax-free, and you can withdraw it tax-free for qualified medical expenses. And guess what qualifies? Long-term care services and even the premiums for long-term care insurance. An HSA is a triple tax-advantaged secret weapon in your long-term care planning. Ignoring this issue is not a strategy. It's a guaranteed path to potential disaster. David and Sarah's story doesn't have to be yours. By planning ahead, you can defuse this bomb and ensure that one health event doesn't erase a lifetime of savings. You protect your assets, preserve your dignity, and spare your children an impossible burden. Now, protecting your nest egg from a health crisis is critical. But what about protecting it from an invisible force that silently eats away at its value every single day, even when the market is going up? This next mistake is the silent killer of retirement dreams, and it's a threat that has become more dangerous now than it has been in 40 years. That silent killer, that invisible force, has a name: inflation. And the mistake isn't just acknowledging it exists. The mistake is a profound, fundamental underestimation of its devastating power over a long retirement. Most people think of inflation as a minor annoyance. The price of gas goes up. A gallon of milk costs a few cents more. They see the headlines, they grumble a bit, and they move on. But for a retiree, inflation isn't an annoyance. It's a predator. It's a wolf that stalks your nest egg, taking a bite out of it every single day, every single month, every single year, for the rest of your life. Let me put this in the starkest terms possible. Imagine you retire at 65 with $1 million. You feel secure, you feel like you've made it. You've planned to live on, say, $50,000 a year. In your first year, that $50,000 buys you a certain lifestyle. Now let's apply a very average historical inflation rate of just 3%. That doesn't sound like much, does it? 3%. But the power of compounding works in reverse too. After 10 years, that same $50,000 a year will only buy what $40,000 buys you today. After 20 years, your $50,000 has the purchasing power of just $27,000. Your income is the same, but your ability to buy groceries, pay for utilities, travel, or cover medical bills has been nearly cut in half. You're running on a financial treadmill, and someone is secretly increasing the speed every single year. You're working just as hard to stay afloat, but you are slowly, inevitably falling behind. This is the central tragedy of ignoring inflation. You can do everything else right. You can save diligently, invest wisely, and build a substantial nest egg. But if your plan doesn't actively fight back against the erosion of your money's value, you are planning to fail. You are planning to become poorer every year of your retirement. And as the hook from the last part mentioned, this threat is more potent now than it has been in 4 decades. We all just lived through a masterclass in the pain of high inflation. We saw prices for everyday goods skyrocket. But for someone working, you have a fighting chance. You can ask for a raise, change jobs for a higher salary, or pick up a side hustle. Your income is dynamic. But for most retirees, your income is fixed. It's a pension, it's a fixed annuity, it's the systematic withdrawal from your 401k. That income stream doesn't automatically adjust to the rising cost of living. You can't just go to your 401k and ask for a raise. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but what about Social Security? It has a cost of living adjustment, a COLA. And you're right, it does. And that COLA is a vital lifeline for millions of seniors. But relying on it to fully protect you is a massive mistake. The formula used to calculate the COLA, the CPIW, is based on the spending habits of urban wage earners and clerical workers. It is not based on the spending habits of retirees. And what do retirees spend a disproportionate amount of their money on? Healthcare. The cost of medical care has historically risen much faster than the general rate of inflation. So while your Social Security check might get a bump that covers the rising cost of bread and gasoline, it often falls desperately short of covering the massive increases in your health insurance premiums, your prescription drug costs, and your out-of-pocket medical expenses. The COLA is a leaky life raft, not an inflation-proof submarine. The other flawed assumption people make is that they can just cut back. They'll just live more frugally as they get older. And while there's nothing wrong with frugality, you can only cut so much. You can't cut back on your property taxes. You can't cut back on your insulin. You can't cut back on keeping the heat on in the winter. Relying on cutting back, as your primary inflation defense, means you are planning for a retirement of ever-increasing scarcity and diminished quality of life. That's not a dream. That's a slow-motion nightmare. So how do you fight this invisible enemy? How do you slay the silent killer? You have to build a portfolio that is explicitly designed not just to preserve your capital, but to grow your purchasing power. The first and most critical line of defense is owning assets that have a history of outpacing inflation over the long term. And the undisputed champion in this arena is the stock market. I know for many people approaching or in retirement, the stock market feels risky, volatile. And it is in the short term. But the risk of not being in the market is far greater. The risk of not owning stocks is the near certainty that your money will be devoured by inflation over 2 or 3 decades. Holding all your money in cash or low-yield bonds isn't playing it safe. It's locking in a guaranteed loss of purchasing power year after year. True safety in retirement isn't the absence of volatility. It's the preservation and growth of your lifestyle. Think of it like this: your portfolio needs an engine. Bonds, CDs, and cash are the brakes. They provide stability. But stocks, equities, those are the engine. They provide the growth, the horsepower needed to not just keep pace with inflation, but to pull ahead of it. Your second tool is to incorporate assets specifically designed to hedge against inflation. The U.S. government offers 2 fantastic instruments for this: Treasury Inflation Protected Securities, or TIPS, and Series I Savings Bonds. TIPS are bonds where the principal value actually increases with the Consumer Price Index, meaning your investment and your interest payments automatically rise with inflation. I bonds are similar, offering a combination of a fixed interest rate plus an inflation-adjusted rate. These aren't get-rich-quick schemes, but they are powerful tools for the more conservative part of your portfolio, ensuring that a portion of your nest egg is directly shielded from inflation's bite. Third, consider real assets. This can include real estate. If you own your home, that's a huge inflation hedge right there. The cost of your housing is largely fixed, while rents around you are rising. For more sophisticated investors, this can also include commodities or real estate investment trusts, which often perform well when the cost of goods and services is on the rise. And finally, a powerful strategy for generating an inflation-fighting income stream is to focus on dividend growth stocks. These are stocks of well-established, profitable companies that have a long history of not just paying a dividend to their shareholders, but increasing that dividend every single year. Think of companies that have been household names for decades. When you own a portfolio of these companies, you're not just getting a check, you're effectively giving yourself a raise every year. As the cost of living goes up, so does your income stream from these companies. It's one of the most elegant and effective ways to create a personal pension that grows over time. Let me tell you a quick story about two friends, Frank and Susan. Both retired at 65 with identical $1 million portfolios. Frank, terrified of market crashes, put all his money into safe investments, CDs and government bonds earning about 2% a year. Susan, understanding the threat of inflation, put her money in a balanced portfolio, 60% in a diversified mix of stocks, including dividend growth stocks, and 40% in bonds and tips. For the first few years, Frank felt like a genius. The market had a few dips, and his principal was untouched. He was safe. Susan's portfolio went up and down, causing her some anxiety, but she stuck with her plan. Now let's fast forward 15 years. Inflation has averaged 3%. Frank is still pulling his planned income from his portfolio, but it buys him far less. He's had to cancel his annual trip to see his grandkids. He worries about a big car repair bill. His safe portfolio has failed to keep up with the cost of living, and he feels the squeeze every single day. His world has gotten smaller. Susan, on the other hand, is thriving. Her stock portfolio, despite the volatility, has grown significantly over those 15 years, far outpacing inflation. The dividends she receives have grown every year, giving her more income to spend. She not only takes her trip to see the grandkids, she flies them out for a vacation. Her portfolio's engine didn't just protect her from inflation. It grew her wealth, expanded her possibilities, and gave her true financial freedom in her later years. Frank wasn't financially irresponsible. He was just fighting the wrong enemy. He was so focused on avoiding the loud headline-grabbing threat of a market crash that he was ambushed and defeated by the silent, relentless threat of inflation. Building a plan that outpaces inflation is not optional. It is the very foundation of a successful, dignified, and secure retirement. But even if you build a perfect inflation-proof portfolio, there is one single expense so massive, so unpredictable, that it can wipe out decades of careful planning in a matter of months. It's the #1 cause of bankruptcy for American seniors, and most people are terrifyingly unprepared for it. I'm talking about the astronomical cost of long-term care. This is the great silent destroyer of American retirements. We plan for market downturns, for inflation, for living longer than we expect. But almost no one properly plans for the single most probable catastrophe they will face: the need for help with daily living as they age. We're talking about nursing homes, assisted living facilities, or in-home health aides. And the reason it's such a dangerous blind spot is because of a massive, pervasive, and devastating misunderstanding of what Medicare actually covers. Let me be crystal clear, because if you hear nothing else, hear this. Medicare does not, I repeat, does not pay for long-term custodial care. People hear nursing home, and they think medical. They assume their government health insurance for seniors will cover it. It won't. What Medicare covers is short-term, skilled nursing care following a qualifying hospital stay. Think of it as rehabilitation. You fall, break your hip, have surgery, and you're discharged to a facility for a few weeks of physical therapy to get you back on your feet. Medicare can help pay for that, but only for a limited time, up to 100 days, and even that's not guaranteed. What it absolutely does not cover is the most common type of care seniors need: custodial care. This isn't about medical treatment. This is about help with the basic activities of daily living. Things like bathing, dressing, eating, using the toilet, or just moving from a bed to a chair. This is the kind of support someone with dementia, severe arthritis, or general frailty needs. It's not short-term rehab. It is long-term living assistance. And for that, Medicare pays zero. You are 100% on your own. And the cost of being on your own is terrifying. According to the latest Genworth Cost of Care survey, the national median cost for a private room in a nursing home is over $108,000 per year. $108,000. That's $9,000 a month post-tax, draining from your life savings. Assisted living? Over $54,000 a year. A home health aide to help you stay in your own house? Over $61,000 a year. Now take a moment and do the math. Imagine you've saved $1 million for retirement. That sounds like a lot of money, but if one spouse needs nursing home care, that $1 million nest egg could be completely vaporized in less than a decade. And what happens to the healthy spouse? They're left to watch their shared life savings, their security, their dreams, evaporate to pay for their partner's care. This is the reality. The number one reason seniors file for bankruptcy in the United States is not a stock market crash. It's a health crisis that leads to long-term care needs. Some people, especially those with larger portfolios, think, I'll just self-insure. I have enough to cover it. But this is a high-stakes gamble with ruinous consequences. The problem isn't just the high cost. It's the profound uncertainty. You have no idea if you'll need care for 6 months or for 6 years. The average length of need is about 3 years, but many people, especially those with Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia, require care for much longer. Are you willing to bet your entire financial legacy, your spouse's future, and your children's inheritance on a roll of the genetic dice? Self-insuring for a risk this large and this unpredictable isn't a financial plan. It's a prayer. So how do you avoid this nightmare scenario? How do you protect your family from this financial atom bomb? The good news is you have options, but you have to act while you are still relatively young and healthy. The first and most direct solution is traditional long-term care insurance, or LTCI. Think of it like any other insurance. You pay a regular premium to an insurance company. In exchange, if you later need care and can no longer perform a certain number of those activities of daily living, the policy kicks in and pays a daily or monthly benefit to cover the costs, up to a lifetime maximum. This directly transfers the risk from your retirement portfolio to the insurance company. The downside? It can be expensive and premiums can rise over time. Furthermore, you have to medically qualify. If you wait until you have a health issue, you will be denied coverage. The sweet spot to buy is typically in your mid-50s. You're still healthy enough to get approved, and the premiums are more manageable than if you wait until your 60s. The second option, which has become increasingly popular, is a hybrid life insurance policy with a long-term care rider. This solves the biggest psychological barrier to traditional LTCI, the use it or lose it problem. With a traditional policy, if you pay premiums for 30 years and die peacefully in your sleep without ever needing care, that money is gone. A hybrid policy combines a death benefit with the long-term care benefit. Here's how it works. If you need long-term care, you can access your life insurance policy's death benefit while you are still alive to pay for it. If you never need care, your heirs receive the full, tax-free death benefit when you pass away. Either way, the policy pays out. These hybrid policies often have fixed premiums that will never increase, and can sometimes have easier medical underwriting than a standalone LTCI policy. The third strategy is not an insurance product, but a powerful savings tool, the Health Savings Account, or HSA. If you have a high-deductible health plan, you should be treating your HSA as a secret, supercharged retirement account specifically for healthcare. It has a triple tax advantage that is unmatched by any other account. Your contributions are tax-deductible, the money grows tax-free, and you can withdraw it completely tax-free for qualified medical expenses. And guess what qualifies? Premiums for long-term care insurance and out-of-pocket long-term care costs. The strategy is to contribute the maximum to your HSA every single year, invest it aggressively, and pay for your current, minor medical expenses out of pocket. Let that HSA balance grow and compound for decades. By the time you retire, you could have a 6-figure account dedicated solely to covering your future medical and long-term care needs. All of it completely tax-free. The final option isn't really a plan. It's what happens when you fail to plan. It's Medicaid. Yes, Medicaid will pay for long-term care, but only after you have impoverished yourself. You have to spend down virtually all of your countable assets, your savings, your investments, your nest egg, to a paltry couple of $1,000s before the government will step in. You will lose control over where you receive care, and your life's work will be handed over to a nursing home instead of your family. It is the absolute last resort, a safety net for the destitute, not a retirement strategy. Planning for long-term care is not about planning to get sick. It's about planning to protect your family and preserve your dignity. It's about ensuring that one unlucky health event doesn't undo a lifetime of hard work and sacrifice. You must have a conversation about this with your spouse and with a financial advisor. You must investigate the costs in your specific state and explore your options now, while you still have them. Protecting your nest egg from this one catastrophic risk is absolutely critical. But even if you do everything right, You save, you invest, you buy the right insurance. There's one final insidious mistake that can unravel it all. It has nothing to do with your portfolio returns or your insurance policies. It has everything to do with the 6 inches between your ears, and it's the reason so many wealthy retirees end up miserable and broke. The final, most insidious mistake is this: we spend 40 years planning for the financial side of retirement and 40 minutes planning for the life side of it. We build a magnificent financial ship, stocked with provisions, fortified against any storm, and then we forget to plan a destination. We just assume that once we stop working, happiness will just happen. Think about it. For decades, your life has been structured. You had a place to be, a title, a purpose. You had colleagues, challenges, problems to solve. Your identity was deeply intertwined with what you did for a living. Then one day you hand in your keycard, attend a farewell party with a sheet cake, and walk out the door. Monday morning comes, and for the first time in 40 years, the alarm doesn't ring. The phone doesn't buzz. No one needs you. The silence is deafening. This isn't freedom. This is a vacuum. And it's a vacuum that devours happiness, and ironically, it can devour your wealth too. Psychologists call it the retirement blues, and it's a very real form of depression that hits people who were, on paper, perfectly prepared. They have the money. They have the time. What they don't have is a reason. A reason to get out of bed, a reason to engage with the world, a reason to feel relevant. This is the misery I was talking about. The successful executive who feels utterly lost without his team. The skilled tradesman who feels useless without his tools. The dedicated nurse who misses the feeling of making a difference. Their entire sense of self-worth was tied to their profession, and when the profession ended, so did their sense of self. And this is where the broke part comes in. When you have a massive void in your life, you try to fill it. And what's the easiest way to fill a void in a consumer society? You spend money. You buy the bigger boat you don't really use. You take the 5-star luxury cruise, then another and another, chasing a fleeting feeling of excitement. You start making risky, exciting investments to feel the thrill of the game again. You engage in what I call void-filling spending. It's an attempt to buy a purpose, to purchase a personality. And it is a financial black hole that can drain even the most robust retirement portfolio faster than you can imagine. So, how do you avoid this trap? How do you plan for a life of purpose and joy, not just a life of financial solvency? You build your retirement life on 3 fundamental pillars, long before you ever stop working. The first pillar is purpose. You need a reason to get up in the morning that has nothing to do with a paycheck. This is not about staying busy. It's about being engaged. What did you love to do before your career took over your life? What problem in the world breaks your heart? What skill have you always wanted to master? Your purpose could be volunteering at the local animal shelter. It could be mentoring a young entrepreneur. It could be mastering the art of Italian cooking, writing that novel you've been talking about for 20 years, or building heirloom furniture for your grandkids in your workshop. It could even be a part-time encore career, working at a bookstore or a golf course, not because you need the money, but because you love the environment and the people. The key is that it has to be something that matters to you. Start experimenting now. Don't wait until you're retired to figure out what you enjoy. Volunteer on a Saturday. Take a night class. Find your why for the next chapter. The second pillar is people. Your job provided you with a built-in social network. You had daily interactions, inside jokes, shared frustrations, and common goals. When you retire, that network can vanish overnight. Loneliness is as dangerous to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. You must be ruthlessly intentional about building and maintaining your social connections. This means nurturing your relationships with your spouse, your children, and your old friends. But it also means cultivating new connections. Join a hiking club. Take up pickleball. Join a book club or a local community board. Find a group that shares your interests. These are your new colleagues, your new tribe. The Harvard Study of Adult Development, one of the longest-running studies on happiness in history, found that the single greatest predictor of a happy, healthy old age wasn't cholesterol levels or financial success. It was the quality of your relationships. Your social portfolio is just as important as your financial one. The third pillar is play. And by play, I mean actively engaging in your own health and well-being. For decades, you've been telling yourself, I'll have time to get in shape when I retire. I'll travel when I retire. I'll learn guitar when I retire. Well, guess what? Retirement is here. This is not the time to settle into a recliner and wait for the end. This is your third act. This is the time to use the amazing life you've built. That means moving your body every single day. Walking, swimming, dancing, gardening, whatever brings you joy. It means challenging your mind. Learn a new language. Study history. Take online courses. The brain is a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. Neuroplasticity is real. You can form new neural pathways at any age, keeping your mind sharp and staving off cognitive decline. Play is about travel, hobbies, and pure unadulterated fun. It's the reward for a life of hard work. Don't just plan for nursing homes. Plan for national parks. Notice how these three pillars, purpose, people, and play, all feed back into your financial well-being. A life filled with purpose prevents that reckless, void-filling spending we talked about. A strong social network provides an emotional and practical support system in times of crisis, which can be priceless. And prioritizing your health through play dramatically lowers your healthcare costs, which is the single biggest financial variable in retirement. So as we close this journey, I want you to look beyond the spreadsheets and the stock charts. Those things are critically important, but they are tools. They are the fuel for the journey. They are not the destination. The biggest mistake of all is to spend a lifetime accumulating fuel with no map of where you want to go. A successful retirement isn't about how much money you have. It's about how you spend your time. It's about waking up excited for the day ahead. It's about deep relationships, meaningful contributions, and genuine joy. It's about designing a life so rich and engaging that you wonder how you ever had time to work. Don't just retire from something. Start planning right now what you will retire to. Because retirement isn't an age you reach or a number in an account. It is a life you build. And the time to start laying the foundation for that life is today.